Happy Wednesday. Welcome on into Let's Bet It. Lauren Jbara, and we got a new face today, Alex Glaze. Last time Alex was on was last week. He gave us 3 amazing college football winners. Lots to talk about today, Alex. Let's get to it. First of all, before we give any picks or dive into what we're talking about today, let's get to know you a little bit more. How long have you been working in sports? What's your background and when did you start gambling?
Yeah. So I've been working in sports for about 6 years now, and I've got to cover pretty much every major sporting event you can think of, aside from the Stanley Cup. I haven't been to that yet. That's on my list.
One
But
day.
World Series, NBA Finals, Super Bowl, the Masters. I mean, it's been a pretty fun career so far. As far as sports gambling goes, I've been into sports gambling for the past couple of years. I'm fairly new in the space, but I got into it because covering local sports kind of got numb on the inside, and this just kind of gave me that shot of adrenaline. What really gave me that shot? 2018. I was one of the people that bet on UMBC money line to beat
No
Virginia. Fun
way.
fact.
What
So
did
I'm
you know
from
that we
Maryland.
didn't know?
No, absolutely nothing. I'm just from Maryland. It was a pure passion pick. My brother went to UMBC, had friends on the team. It was a pure passion pick. I was just with a couple of buddies, and we were just like, let's, why not? And then at halftime, we weren't watching the game, and then we're looking at the game cast, and we're just like, halftime, we're like, maybe we should find a TV and watch.
Oh my gosh, you're like, yeah, maybe we should actually watch the rest of this game.
We should. I mean, at that point, you had to just assume you're throwing away money, right? So,
Yeah.
Once we saw, I think it was tied at halftime, we were like, oh, we need to really watch this thing. Like, this could be a fun night. And it ended up being a fun night and a fun weekend.
Oh my God.
After we cashed in on that. Yeah, for sure.
I love that. Alex, your claim to fame, you were one of maybe the 3 people in the entire country that bet against Virginia in that game. Congratulations, man. That paid off. Good for you. That's awesome. I can't wait till March Madness this year. You got to give us the inside picks.
As you know, though, like my dad has a saying, things that make you laugh make you cry. So that's probably like the peak. There've been a lot of lows, too, but that was definitely the mountaintop so far for me.
A lot of lows, but the peaks are worth it. I love it. All right, we got a lot to talk about today. College football recap, college football week 3 preview, because Alex Glaze here is a college football expert. We have MLB as well, only 2 weeks left in the season. Those wild card races are heating up, and then we can't end the show without a little Pickswise play of the day. So without further ado, lots to get into. Let's get it. Let's bet it. I want to take us back, Alex, to week 2 last week, because you went 3 for 3 on your college football picks. Let's dive into them. What did you bet on and what went right?
So I faded your Notre Dame Irish. I took Toledo and the points. And if you'll remember, not only did I give that pick, but I also gave a name to watch, Bryant Koback. And I think he had 122 yards and almost rushed for 6 yards a carry and a touchdown. He was a big reason why Toledo's offense was rolling. So, I mean, I don't need to tell you what happened in that game, but Toledo easily covered that 17th. The game that I was a little nervous about because of an injury situation that happened after I gave the pick was the Georgia first half against UAB, laying 13.5 points. But then Stetson Bennett came in, eased all my worries. I think he threw 5 passes and 4 of them were touchdowns. I mean, it was never a question in the first half for Georgia there. And the one that the show was split on was the Iowa State game. Jared ducking me today. I'll have to talk to him on Friday.
Yeah, he didn't want to be on here because his tail was between his legs.
We were on the same side with that one, but that was that was a fun game, and it really just capped off a really fun day for me. And I also, after I went 3-0, I text you and Jared, and I was like, well, perfect day. That can only mean one thing. It's going to be a miserable NFL Sunday for me. It wasn't miserable, but it definitely wasn't 3-0 for sure.
It wasn't as great as Saturday. You had a pretty cool. Yeah, I had a good day too. I know. So the Let's Bet It crew, between you, me, and Jared, we went 8-1 on Saturday. So we were feeling pretty good. The only loss that Jared had was that Iowa State game. But yeah, I took a lot of unders. I took number 12 Oregon and number 3 Ohio State under. And it was the first time that Ohio State lost a regular season game under Ryan Day. Guess what? The under hit at 63.5. Air Force Navy, the under is now gone 39-9-1 in Service Academy games, which is wild. And I was looking at Navy, they had 36 yards rushing, and they're a rushing team. So and I was looking, I'm like, they really haven't been on the board very much recently. They've scored a combined 10 points in 8 quarters of football, the last 2 games this season, which is not very great. And then I also took Washington at Michigan, the under 48.5. I don't know if you saw those pictures from the Big House, but it was a maze out at the Big House, and it looked awesome. I mean,
yeah.
So the under hit in that one too. People say, the under, if you bet it, you're going to be stressed out. I was feeling a little stressed, but at the same time, you know what? 3 for 3, baby. I don't feel too bad about it.
While we're talking about unders, because I know this is kind of switching to NFL real quick. How brutal was that Ravens Raiders under? Which I was on. That was literally the first pick I gave on this show. I was loving life for 3.5 quarters. And then I was like, wait.
And then the fourth quarter came along and just waltzed on in there.
It's like that meme. You're just like sitting on the bus and like, oh, I'm in danger. It's like, that's what I was feeling like. That was a brutal beat for me.
Oh, but what an exciting game to end out week 1 of the NFL football season. And you know
Absolutely.
Like, it was so much fun to watch. It just gets me excited for week 2. I can't even wait what's yet to come here. But talking about week 3 of college football, you're the college football expert. What games this week are you kind of keeping an eye on, and what should we, keep an eye out for to maybe get in on heading into week 3?
Yeah. So right now, the first game I'm looking to Friday night, Maryland and Illinois. Maryland laying 7.5 points. And I think that is a number that people should take advantage of. I'm not going to say that that's something you should bet right now, but I'm definitely keeping an eye on that game. That's a good Maryland team. And Illinois they're just not great.
Yeah.
Maryland, they've got a really strong defense, and I call him Baby Tua. Tua's little brother is the quarterback at Maryland, but he's put on, he's put on a show, and he's got 2 great receivers out there that he's throwing to. So Maryland, Mike Locksley's got that Maryland team clicking on all cylinders. I really like Maryland to win big against Illinois on Friday. I also, this is a big number. I'm trying to convince myself to swallow here, but I like Oklahoma to cover 22 against Nebraska. It's a rivalry game, but I don't know. My thing is Adrian Martinez is Nebraska's offense, right? And I don't think Scott Frost or Adrian Martinez have shown anything that should make anyone believe that they can hang in a game with Oklahoma. They're going to try to come out and run the ball. That's what they do. But, you can only run the ball so much when against Oklahoma when they're, scoring, left and right. And I think that offense has gotten back on track. So those are just a couple of the games that I'm looking to. I also like Virginia Tech to cover against West Virginia. They're getting 3 points. They're the better team. I know they're on the road, but that's another rivalry game there. But, there's just a lot of really good games. This is going to be a good slate of college football this week. What are you looking at?
I know. So talking about big spreads here, Tulsa at Ohio State. I'm kind of looking at Ohio State laying 24.5. Let me tell you why. Because I feel like a lot of the time when good team, and honestly, I don't like betting Ohio State, obviously, Big Ten girl, go blue. But at the same time, when good teams lay an egg and get upset like that, the next team up often pays for it. And Tulsa probably picked maybe the worst day to play Ohio State. So when you're looking at what Ohio State went through last weekend, when they were basically shut down, and I want to talk a little bit about this Ohio State game too, and CJ Stroud at the same time. But I feel like Ohio State's going to bounce back in this game. I feel like they're going to cover the spread of 24.5. I feel like they have a chip on their shoulder. They want to prove not just to themselves, but to the entire country, who is smack talking them after this weekend when Oregon just basically was 3-4 plays ahead of them of their defense the entire time. I think this is going to be a big game for Ohio State. But off of that, you look at, CJ Stroud, and I know a lot of people have been on him this week saying, is he the right guy for the job? What do you think when it came to that? Because Ryan Day made a point stressing that their loss didn't include Stroud. He said he was really accurate making throws that he hasn't seen a young kid make in a really long time.
He was good for 500 yards.
I know. That's what, and it was, I know, and it was the second most yards ever thrown in Ohio State history, behind Dwayne Haskins.
He completed 65% of his balls. 65%. Threw for 3 touchdowns. What more do you want from a redshirt freshman? I mean, the CJ Stroud is not the problem. Ohio State's problem is their defense. Their defense is not the Ohio State defense that we have become accustomed to seeing over the past couple of years.
Mhm.
That's the problem. It's not CJ Stroud
Yeah.
at all. I mean, we need to be talking about that defense a little bit more. But I mean, you know how this goes. I mean, when a team loses, you know, people blame the coach or the quarterback. That's just kind of how things
People
go.
try to find answers. Yeah. Why do people go right after the quarterback right away? Even if he had a game like that. I mean, the dude is named Big Ten Freshman of the Week for the second week in a row.
I mean, if I'm him, I'm just laughing because I'm like,
yeah,
well, maybe I have to throw for 500 yards every week. Maybe then the noise will stop. But the Ohio State offense is not the problem at all in Columbus. And now that brings me to a question for you. I know that you are a Michigan girl as well.
Oh gosh.
Do you think that this could be the year that Michigan beats Ohio State? I mean, we got to ask it now, right? I mean, Ohio State's down.
Yeah, I don't know. And I was actually reading this article this week about it, Alex. Like, so the Michigan, they have a drill, a 9-on-7 drill. And after Ohio State lost last week, they renamed the drill to the Beat Ohio drill. It's one of their most physical drills, and they do it every single Monday and Tuesday during the season. And hearing from a couple players, they said, yeah, usually we just go through it on Mondays and Tuesdays. It's a physical drill. We get ready for it, but there's not really much fire behind it. They said now, after last week, they blast music, they do smelling salts, everything. It's a pretty physical period. And they said renaming that drill kind of carries more meaning, and it's getting them hype for the Ohio State game, which I don't know exactly what weekend it is. Again, probably the Thanksgiving weekend that it usually is.
It's the last weekend, right?
But if they're doing that for the next couple of months in preparation for Ohio State, I think if Ohio State's defense played the way that they did, Michigan stands a chance. But at the same time, they haven't beaten Ohio State and Jim Harbaugh's tenure.
It's been a decade. It's been beyond Harbaugh's tenure. It's going to be interesting.
I know, honestly. And so my freshman year in college was 2011, and we haven't beaten them since I started going to school.
Did they beat them in 2011 or was that?
Yeah, last time they beat them, I was in high school.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Jeez.
So what do you think?
I think that Michigan hasn't beat Ohio State in 10 years. So I don't think that anything about what we're talking about matters. What's going to be interesting while we're talking about, yeah, I know, I'm sorry. I've been mean to you lately the past couple of shows, picking on your teams there. But, you know, while we're talking about Ohio State's defense, you know, and they have, you know, obviously some time to figure things out there, Michigan offensively is looking really one-dimensional, you know, and I know Jim Harbaugh, I don't know if you saw what he said about the passing game. He said something to the effect of like there are a couple ways to travel. George Patton did it on the ground. Neil Armstrong did it on the air, did it through the air. You know, they had two running backs go over 150 yards. And, you know, in today's game, I just don't see how that is feasible. I mean, obviously, if you're able to have success, that works. But if you're not able to run the ball, what do you do? So I don't know. So I think if Ohio State can figure out how to stop the run, then they could beat Michigan. But that's my thoughts right now on September 15th. You know, we got plenty of time for things to work themselves out there.
Yeah,
so, I don't
absolutely. I want to talk about Florida versus Bama in the Swamp, because Bama has a 16-game winning streak dating back to the 2020 Citrus Bowl, and they play like 3 games outside the state of Alabama all year. And last time they played there was 2011. Bama won 38-10. But I kind of like Florida plus 15.5 in this one. I think that the Gators have talent. Dan Mullen is one of the sharpest offensive minds in college football, and the Swamp is definitely a difficult environment for opposing teams to come into and play. I think Bama's going to probably win, but Florida, I think they're going to keep it close enough to cover. How do you feel about that one?
That's another game that I'm keeping an eye on. You know, it's really interesting because this is going to be the first true road game for Bryce Young. You know, he's looked incredible this year, but, you know, going into the Swamp and, you know, that environment is going to be incredible. You know, that's going to be the toughest environment he's probably played in so far in his life. You know, and so it'll be interesting to see how he responds to that. But, you know, you're talking about Dan Mullen being this, you know, offensive mind, and, you know, I think he's known as, you know, a quarterback whisperer. He's got 2 quarterbacks right now. And you know what that means? It means he's got no quarterbacks. So he's got to figure out what he wants to do. He's got to figure out what he wants to do offensively. And I mean, that Bama defense is, you know, probably one of the best defenses we've seen. And I just don't know how Florida is going to be able to have success offensively to cover that number. That's a big number. 15, you said 15 and a half?
15
That's
and
a
a half
big
right
number.
now. Yeah.
That's a big number for a road SEC game. So I'm definitely keeping an eye on that, and I'm going to hope that number dips a little bit. But
Another one in the
I can't see
Sunshine
myself.
State. Yeah.
I can't see myself taking Florida in the points, but we'll see. We'll see on Friday how I'm feeling about that one. I'm going to pick that. I'm going to pick that.
I mean, if you take Bama on that one, maybe I'll fade you a little bit. Take Florida. We'll see what happens. All right, another one in the Sunshine State, Michigan State heading down to Miami. Michigan State is the underdog in this game. I like the money line plus 205 for this one. And obviously, you and Jared know I love an underdog. I am from Michigan, but at the same time, what has Miami done to justify being the favorite in this game?
I agree with you 100%. Money line might be a little strong, but I know listen, if you're going to go big or go home. But Michigan State, I would take them in the points right now for sure. I look at that, because like you said, Miami hasn't done anything to justify being favored at all. And while we're talking about teams that haven't justified being favored, let's talk about Notre Dame being 7.5-point favorites against Purdue. What has Notre Dame done? I mean, I ask this every week. Are we sure Notre Dame is any good? Are we sure?
I'm sure. And honestly, I know this is where I have a really tough time because, yeah, a lot of the time I bet based on numbers and logic, but some of the time I bet based on heart. Yes, I graduated from Michigan. My dad and both my brothers went to Notre Dame. So I have a soft spot for Notre Dame. I grew up a Notre Dame fan. I remember being at those games down in South Bend, and I was like 6, 7 years old. And you know, when all the little girls wear like those little cheerleader outfits, like the Notre Dame cheerleader outfits. I always had one of those growing up. But honestly, heading into this week, I think Brian Kelly is going to fix some of the big plays. And if they cut down on the turnovers, I think they should easily cover. I don't know. They're off to a 2-0 start. Passing game has been clicking. I don't see Notre Dame not covering the spread in this game. But apparently you don't think that they're going to.
That might be another game I'm keeping my eye on. We'll find out on Friday. I don't know. I don't want to just fade all your teams. But I might have to.
I know. Hey, we're going to see. I feel like last week we were on each other's side. This week we might fade each other a little bit, and we'll see what happens come next week.
Well, listen, we both went 3-0, so we're gonna see who's really, who really does this college football thing, I guess, this week, right? That's we're gonna see. It's gonna shake itself out.
There's one more I want to talk about before we head into MLB because the wild card races are heating up in the last 2 weeks for Major League Baseball. But one more, the Brainiac game, Duke +2 over Northwestern. Northwestern's defense is just not the same as last year's defense. Michigan State moved the ball at will against them in the opener. What do you think about this one?
But Duke is just not a good team. I mean, it really just comes down to that. I mean, that's probably a game that I'm going to stay away from personally, just because, I mean, this is a Duke team that lost to Charlotte, and no shade to Charlotte there, but I mean, this should never be a situation where, an ACC team is losing to a team like Charlotte. So this is not a great Duke team. I know they're at home. And Northwestern is, they might not be great, but it's still Northwestern. It's a Power 5 team. So I don't know. 2 points, it tells me it's almost a pick 'em, just because, usually, the home team's getting 3 points for the environment there. But I don't know. I'm probably going to stay away from that one just because 2 bad teams.
Yeah. On the other side of that, Duke averages 36.5 points per game. That's 14.5 more than Northwestern surrenders, which is 22. So it'll be interesting to see what Duke's offense is able to do against a maybe not as good Northwestern defense this week. That's just another one I wanted to point out. A lot of talk about college football, but we cannot end the show without talking a little Major League Baseball. There's 2 weeks left in the MLB season, and the wild card races are heating up. AL wildcard race, really exciting to watch right now. 5 teams competing for 2 spots, and they're all within 3.5 games of one another. We touched a lot on it yesterday with Jared Smith. The Red Sox, Yankees, scorching hot Blue Jays right now that Jared has a love-hate relationship with right now. He's in love. The A's and the Mariners. And so that's going to be really, really fun to watch down the stretch. But on the other side, the NL side of things, the Braves Alex, I know you know a lot about him. He spent a lot of time in Atlanta. They're in the lead right now for the division by 4.5 games. One of the closest races right now. What's it going to come down to?
I mean, it's going to come down to these last 2 weeks where they're going to play the Mets and they're going to play the Phillies in series. They're, like you said, they're leading the Phillies right now by 4.5 games. It's going to come down to that. The Braves on July 28th had a 7.7% chance of making the playoffs. Now those chances are up over 90%. I mean, so the past couple of weeks have really just changed the course for the Braves, and this has been an incredible tear for them, especially when you consider the injuries that they've had to endure. I mean, obviously they didn't get back their ace, Mike Soroka, at all this year. He's dealing with 2 torn Achilles, or a twice torn Achilles. And then, Ronald Acuna Jr., who was in the mix for possible NL MVP this year, goes down with a torn ACL. So they've been dealing with a lot. And Alex Anthopoulos has done a great job retooling this team and getting this team, just passing them away and getting them into the playoffs. Yeah, but now what it's going to come down to, because that the playoffs come down to arms, right? Like once you get to playoff baseball, it comes down to arms. Everyone can hit. Do you have the arms to make it to the World Series? I don't think that the Braves do have the arms. So I'm not high on them. But, I mean, for them to make it to the postseason this year is an incredible feat.
Absolutely. What do you think was the switch for them? Like watching that team, what did you see and when did you see that switch kind of happen to really turn it on and get fired up for the rest of the season?
Well, it's really not a switch. I mean, the Braves just have one of the best lineups in baseball. There aren't many holes on any given night in that lineup. There's not a spot where you're giving your pitcher a break. He's got to go 1 through 8, and Max Fried likes to hit sometimes, so maybe 1 through 9 on some nights. But you got to go through the whole lineup, and it's really a tough lineup to get through. So I think that they're just a tough out to get, and that's been the difference for them so far, that they just have so much strength offensively that they're never out of games. They can always hit their way back into games.
Absolutely. All right, we're not going to end the show without talking about our Pickswise play of the day and our best bets. At the end of every show, we give our picks. First of all, I want to highlight the Pickswise 3-star play of the day. Alex, what we got?
Yes, so the Pickswise play of the day: Brewers run line against the Tigers. Detroit has struggled offensively in day games, while the Brewers are 39-19 in day games. The Tigers won last night by a score of 1-0 in 11 innings, and that was their second consecutive 11-inning game. Their bullpen could be a little spent. They might be looking to their rookie, Matt Manning, to eat up some of the innings in this one. So we are going with the Brewers run line for the Pickswise pick of the day.
I love it. What's your pick of the day? We got a lot of baseball tonight. Who you eyeing as one of the best bets for tonight?
I think we're eyeing the same game. So you're on the Braves-Rockies game, right?
Yes, I am.
But I think we have different picks from the game. So I'm on the over, which is at 8.5 right now. Huascar, is on the mound for the Braves. He gave up 4 runs the last time he played the Rockies. And as we just mentioned, this Braves lineup is dangerous. They got the hits last night, didn't get the run production. I don't see that happening 2 nights in a row. So I like this game to go over 8.5 runs.
I like it. I'm sorry, I'm fading your Braves a little bit. Colorado Rockies money line plus 180 in this one. And
you love the money line.
Antonio, I love the good money line bets, and I love betting in plus money. Antonio Senzatella, during his last 2 starts, has given up only 5 runs, and the Braves are averaging 240 against right-handers this season. And their lack of scoring, I think, is going to lead to the Rockies pulling the upset in this one. I don't know. I am back in the Rockies money line. I'm sorry to fade your Braves here, but I'm back in the Rockies money line plus 180. Love a good plus money. Love a good underdog.
All right. We'll see.
We'll see. I know we're gonna have a little text chain going on later. We'll reconvene tomorrow and talk a little bit about it. I love it. Alex, it's been so great having you on today for some hump day. Let's bet it. That's it for us. Find us on the Pickswise YouTube channel. Go to pickswise.com. Follow us on Twitter. Alex, Glaze, Lauren Jbara, best of luck tonight. We'll see you tomorrow. Let's get it. Let's bet it.